What is going on, collective? Welcome back to my channel. It's your boy Belligerence. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Alright, so today we are going to go over some spiritual laws. Right? Where did I put those laws? Man, I really need to learn how to organize before I even start the video. Alright, so basically with these spiritual laws, these are things that I observed in my spiritual attacks and warfare and stuff like that. Because yes, I am someone who went through spiritual attacks. I got spiritual attacked every day for probably about 7, 8, 9 years. Just attack after attack after attack. And I'm not talking about like take a break. I'm talking about like birthdays, holidays, weekends, just continuously. Jar spell after jar spell, death spell after death spell, hex after hex, vex after vex, curse after curse. It was just ongoing, you know, on and on and on and on and on, you know, and it gets boring, it gets tired after a while, you know, and it, you know, I guess whoever it was, they wanted me to like miss out on life, you know. But by the grace of God, I found a way through I found a way through. You know what I'm saying? And you know, by the grace of God, I'm good. I am good. Let's see here. So that's what happened here with the spirit work and stuff like that. Also, is that I learned how to break everything down and how to rationalize everything, because what happened was, with the spell work and stuff, basically the ones who were sending it out, there really was no reason to send it, or maybe there was a reason in the beginning, you know what I'm saying? But after a while, it's kind of like that theory where it was like they took these, well, there was an experiment where they took these monkeys, right, and they put them in a cage, and when the monkey tried, they had like some bananas in the cage, right, and it was like on a tree. So when a monkey go up there to try to get the banana, they would electrocute it, and it would just keep doing that over and over and over again, right? Then eventually the monkey stopped. So when another monkey tried to go up there, all the other monkeys start fighting that monkey to keep that monkey from going up there. So over time they changed each monkey out. So after a while, none of the monkeys that was in that cage were of the original batch. But they didn't know why they fought whoever tried to go up there to get the banana. They just know that was the natural response, and they continued to do it. And that pretty much sums up the spell work that I had to go through for the last 7 to 8 years. 9 times out of 10, the people who sent, or probably is still sending me spell work and psychic attacks and stuff like that, is not the same original group. They don't really know why they're doing it, but they're still doing it to hold up tradition. It got to the point where, they would make up a reason to do it. Oh, today's Wednesday. Oh, today's my birthday. Oh, this is that. Oh, this is that. And they'll just do it, right? Well, in the meantime, I had to go to work. And as I was going to work, this is what I found to be true. These here are 13 laws, 13 spiritual laws that I found to work. That I found as I was doing, as I found during this spiritual attacks, right? There's 13 of them. The very first one has to do with octaves. The concept of octave is that there's high and then there's a low octave when it comes to magic, spell work, and energy in itself, right? Everything has a height, everything has a depth, right? Now, what governs this octave is its frequency. How often does this energy come out? Is it high frequency that comes out like that? Is it low frequency that comes out like that? Or is it low frequency that comes like this? Or is it high frequency that comes like that? You see what I'm saying? Now, when it comes to octaves, one thing that I learned with spiritual attacks, that everything occurs in octaves, and you have 4 octaves. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The strongest octave is going to be number 1. It's high frequency, high energy, and it's, you know what I'm saying, it's constant energy. High energy, constant high energy, constantly, right? But the fallacy of that energy is that it requires a soul source to tap into. When you use your own personal energy, you know, with that soul source, or when you use your, because you have to use your personal energy to do this. It's only as strong as your personal energy. So when once you start getting tired, guess what? It starts to lose its power. This right here is a gradual one right here, number 2. This is a gradual octave. What this is something that is used, I mean, it can be detected, but usually it's like, it's energy, don't get me wrong, but it's not so hard to get rid of. This right here will be equivalent to like a curse, right? Because this curse is like, you know, high energy is supposed to design to, you know, whatever. This right here is more like a crossing, or you have your energy crossed up or something like that, where the energy is gradually coming into you. It's gradually coming in, it's coming in. Number 3 will be something similar to, let's say, I don't know, something like a word magic, or something where, yeah, like a word magic kind of vibe, right? Where you're just saying something and it just kind of like, you know, it really don't have too much effect unless you allow it to, right? And then number 4 will be something similar to like a hex. The difference to me, between a hex and a curse, is that a curse usually lasts a lot longer, but a hex is something that's just to throw you off. Whereas a crossing is designed to pull you into certain directions, you know. And the difference between pulling off and throwing you off and pulling you off is pretty much as like, say, if you go to it, this is supposed to be activated at a certain, you know, it's kind of like this right here will be activated when a certain action is getting ready to be taken, essentially. And this right here is something that would be active all the time to try to keep your mind caught up in, you know, whatever. But anyway, all spiritual warfare, all spiritual attacks and stuff like that operates on the octave, okay? It's almost like a music note, okay? Everything has a music note. I'm gonna come back to number 1 in a second. Number 2, return to sender. Right? Everything in the universe essentially has is stasis loving, okay? When you grab it, it's essential. Basically, with this law, it is similar to if you had putty. If you take some putty and you pull it out, right? You can stretch it. But when you let it go, what does it want to do? It wants to retain back its form. It wants to go back to the form that it once had, right? Energy is essentially, energy, frequency, and vibration is essentially the same, especially when it comes to spell work and magic, right? So this is something that what is that? I want to say, I don't want to say Buddhist. I want to say Taoist learned when it comes to magic or energy, is that the Tao Te Ching, everything goes back to its original form. Nothing stays the same. Nothing, like say if you were to send some energy out, it doesn't stay. It goes out, but it always finds its way back. Just like a wave, okay? Energy, frequency, vibration, magic, whatever you want to call it, is just like a wave in a calm pool. If you go to that pool and you hit that pot and you hit the pond, what's going to happen? It's going to ripple outward, right? Eventually, it's going to ripple to the fact that it's going to interact with something. And once it interacts with that something, it starts pulling itself back to its original source. That's the same, that's the wisdom that we acquire through Taoism in, you know, when it comes in, in connection to magic and spell work. What you send out is what you receive. We also see that in Hermeticism, right? As above, so below. What is in you is what you send out. What is outside of you is what you absorb in. Nature, nurture, right? That's the concept of returning to sender. 3, karma. Karma is communal. Now, the concept of karma being communal is basically this. Like attracts like in our world. We already know that like attracts like, right? Whoever I am is what I'm going to attract, whether I agree with it or not. Everything is a mirror of who I am. Everything is a mirror. I'm a mirror of someone. Someone is a mirror of me. Essentially, I am the mirror in which I look when I look into another person's eyes. I am the mirror in which I look. Okay? So essentially how that works is like this with karma. Let's say that you got a bunch of rich friends, right? Say it's 5 of you guys, right? You're the only one that don't have a lot, right? When you go into this group and you're in there with these rich friends, what happens? You start absorbing and start thinking like your rich friends, then eventually that may motivate you to what? Elevate yourself, right? Same happens when you have broke friends, right? And you're the one with the money. The more you hang around them, the more you start absorbing their mind state, and essentially you start losing money. Karma works the same way, because karma isn't always just about deeds and actions. It's also about who and what you interact with, which is something else that I'm going to get into at the further down. But so whatever you commune with, your karma is attached to what you commune with. All right. So if you are communing with, let's say, weed, whatever goes along with weed is what is attached to you. That's the hunger. That's the dirty pee. That's the everything that's connected to marijuana, right? And it works like that for everything. Okay, everything is communal. Spirits are communal in themselves. Spirits are communal. Okay, spirits in themselves are communal. That's why when you have when they say birds of a feather flock together, right? They say if you have one, girls that hang around with girls that sleep around, generally she start absorbing that mentality and she starts to sleep around too. You see what I'm saying? Or vice versa. That's how our law system is set up too. Birds of a feather flock together. You were with them, you're going to get the same sentence, right? Next is shifting nodes. Okay, so with shifting nodes, this is a little bit a different concept, right? So essentially in our sphere, right, we have multiple different ways of accepting energy. We got energy that is connected to, let's say, planets. And this is the best way to put it. We got ones connected to zodiac signs. We got houses, right? Planets, zodiac signs, and houses, right? Now, the planets generally affect, and this isn't accurate at all. I'm just trying to assign it something so I can make a quick point, right? So this house, let's say that's your frequency. Zodiac sign is gonna affect your energy. And planet is gonna affect your vibration. Or you know what, let's switch them around. This is gonna be energy. And then this is gonna be vibration. Now, I'm gonna pick a planet. Let's say I'm gonna pick the sun. I'm gonna pick, let's say, I'm gonna pick my sign, Sagittarius. And I'm gonna pick third house. Right? Shifting nodes is basically this. I'm gonna pick an opposite, right? The moon. The moon, let's say another zodiac, let's say Taurus. And we're gonna do like fifth house. So basically what this says is that as these times pass, your energy, you're going to become different people in order, you're going to be different aspects of yourself in order to align yourself with the times. Okay, it's kind of like a combination lock. Let's say it's like a lock with like 3 different combinations on it, right? When a planet is in a certain place, it kind of affects your energy. So this is the energy that you're going to absorb. So and was this Sagittarius, this that sunny energy with the sun right here, this that energy of optimism, right? Let's say optimism, because that's what we generally associate with the sun, optimism, right? So you got that optimistic energy, and then you have Sagittarius, which is that free spirit, right? And then the 3rd house has to do with what's that? Communication. This right here would be considered like a social butterfly, right? Next we have the moon. The moon has to do with insight. It had the Taurus energy, has to do with sureness, being sure. Okay, it has to do with being sure. I'm just gonna put sure. I don't know what other, I could come up with something, but whatever. Then 5th house has to be creativity. And this node here, you would see a solid, grounded. It's like a creative. It's like you're grounded in your intuition. It's about being grounded in your intuition. Essentially is what it would be. Grounded in your intuition, to be able to peep something without it affecting your emotions. You see what I'm saying? And you see the basically the word, and the reason why I have creativity here with the 5th house, it has to do also with the father figure. But most importantly, that creative energy, that creativity that is connected to that energy, this is what happens. When you're grounded in your intuition, or you're grounded in your intuitive nature, the world has a creative way of exposing or revealing different things to you, and you're grounded enough to see that. So basically with shifting nodes is this. In one season, let's say in Sagittarius season, you may be a social butterfly. But in Taurus season, you may be that person that has that grounded intuition. That's what shifting nodes is. As energy is sent to and directed towards you, sometimes you have to adjust, right? Because what happens here, you will have somebody who will hex your love life, right? Right? Say somebody put a hex on your love life. No love. If you remain the same, you'll keep bumping your head against the same wall, trying to get past that, right? Why not just shift into a planetary zodiac and housing that works for you? Why not just shift that energy? Why not just, okay, well, this is what I'll do. I'll adopt the aspect of this from wherever, and I'll make it work like that. Usually around, I've experienced a love block. Normally I experience love blocks around March. I'm used to experiencing love blocks around March. So what I'll do is what I always do in March. You see what I'm saying? You see how that works, shifting nodes? Okay. So next, it has to do with resonance. So with resonance, is basically, it's like, it has to do with how low vibrational energies work. God is of the light, correct? Lucifer is of what we call the dark, correct? But essentially, if we had to correspond those with elements, God would be the light and Lucifer would be of sound, because of course he was over the choir, right? What is also connected to sound? Electromagnetic waves, which we experience as what? Microwave, right? God, UV light. You see what I'm saying? Now, the reason why I put it like this is because with the microwave, what generally happens is this. Matter of fact, I got something even better. Let's look at the Tesla coil. Right? So you got a Tesla coil. For those of you who don't know, you can look it up. Ideally, if you have two of these coils, right? This coil is going to vibrate like sound does, right? It's going to vibrate back and forth at a frequency that this can pick up because they are both on the same frequency. So essentially what I'm saying is this. When there's hexes and vexes that are sent your way, when you shift your frequency, it causes that energy to pass through you, around you. You know what I'm saying? That kind of vibe. The only way that most dark magic and spell work and stuff like that can stick to you is if you're resonating with it. You have to be in the same energy. That's why witches have to instill fear in you first. Concern. Worry. Because they are getting ready to engage in some dark work. And when they send this energy out of these energies, they need you to be in that same energy so it picks up. It's just like Bluetooth. For those of you who know what Bluetooth is, it's a series of ones and zeros that continuously sent out to another device of ones and zeros. And essentially what happens is one device gives the other device a code. That's why when you pair it, it gives it a code, right? So let's say there's 3 channels. With that code alone, it tells both devices, okay, I'm going to send this amount of code, then we're going to go to channel 3, I'm going to send this amount of code there, then I'm going to go to channel 2 and send this amount of code, and then I'm going to go back to 1. So the code is pretty much is going to be 132. And then it's going to say, when I send the code, I'm going to send 1001. Okay? So then the first channel is going to be 1001. Then it's going to switch to 3 and go 1001. Then it's going to go to 2 and go 1001. And then it continues to that pattern. That's why when you do Bluetooth, a lot of times your Bluetooth will connect directly to your device versus connecting to everybody's device at one time. Okay? That's what resonance is. It's being in sync. Witches and warlocks have to put you in synchronization with the work that they have to do, that they send out. You have to understand that. That's why they want you fearful. That's why they want you concerned or worried. That's why they expect you, like when most people tell you that I'm a warlock or I'm a witch or whatever, it usually shoots some kind of fear or pain or something in your head to like, oh, I should leave this person alone. And that's what a lot of them need. That fear. For you to fear them or fear what they could do. Because of, your imagination. It runs wild. With fear, it runs wild, which gives them more energy to resonate with and continues to send towards you. So that is the law of resonance when it comes to spirituality and hexing. Next, you have the left and the right brain theory. With the left and right brain theory, essentially, it comes to this. You create something with your left brain, and then it manifests in the right brain. Okay, now this concept I was experimenting with, and I did not get 100% all of the evidence of this, but the theory behind this was that basically the dark or the depth, basically in the universe we have light and we have dark. There's way more dark than there is light. The dark is representative of the subconscious mind, okay, because it's void. It's a lot of energy there. But without that spark, without that mind, it's nothing, right? I can't remember which is which, but I know one is the subconscious and one is going to be the conscious mind, right? So basically what this says is that the subconscious mind, basically what we create and our conscious, what we could take from our we could use our conscious mind to create something in our subconscious mind to manifest in our, to manifest, basically. It's basically left, right, left. You know what I'm saying? You use one part of your brain to visualize it, and then one part of your brain to act on it, and then it manifests, essentially, is what it is. And that's a part of spirituality, okay? And that's kind of common, that's kind of common sense. I guess it would be like the law of mentalism, where everything starts in the mind, and then the all is mind and the mind is all, essentially, and it manifests in that manner. However, the concept that I was thinking of was that, imagine if God was thinking of something, and as he's thinking about it, he thinks about you thinking about it, and you manifest it. Essentially, is the vibe that I was getting here. But that would be the left and the right brain theory. I have to, revisit that or whatever. Next, I have spiritual interactions, right? Basically, what this says is that by us being matter, right? And by us having electromagnetic fields around us, right? We all have electromagnetic fields around us. We call that the aura. We call that the etherical body. We call that all these things, right? When we interact, the things we interact with is what we become, essentially. And that's why I was talking about the law of karma. If you're interacting with the spirit, you become that spirit. If you're interacting with the wisdom, you become that wisdom. Look at our best basketball players. They interacted with the wisdom of playing basketball. And now, guess what? They're professionals. There are people who interact with certain spirits. And then all of a sudden, guess what? Those spirits become them. They become those spirits. Everything is communal. What you interact with essentially is what you become. Next, the concept of heaven and earth. I got to revisit that one because with the heaven and earth one, I have it wrote down in my book. I'm going to have to go back in my book and look at that. But I think it has something to do with almost like as above, so below kind of vibe. But I guess the best way to put that was about the three soul concept. I guess I did expand on it better. Where in the heaven, you have a source, and then then you are a source, and then you have a source that is in the earth, a source, right? Either way, when you use magic or when magic is used against you, it comes from a source. If you continuously use from your own soul source, what happens is you drain your vitality, you drain your life force. When you drain your life force, there's nothing left. There's really nothing left. And that's why we have vampiric people who go about trying to drain other people. Because they feel a void and they're empty. That comes from doing spell work using your own vitality, your own soul. Overdoing it. Or trying to exert your will. Then you have the heaven source, in which we tap into energies like, let's say, the sun. We tap into the moon, the eclipses. We tap into solstices. You know what I'm saying? We tapped into all these heavenly abodes and bodies. Then there's the earth soul, in which we tap into the core. We tap into the deep waters. We tap into the earth, nature, things like that. Yeah, heaven and earth. So these are the sources in which we tap into things. You see what I'm saying? Then you have the systemic beliefs. Okay, so essentially, what systemic beliefs is basically this: what you believe to be true essentially can become true. Okay, so the universe is basically with the left and right brain. If you pair this with the left and right brain theory, this is how it works. Okay, I know this is a lot, and I didn't expect to talk about so much today, but okay. But okay, let's say that we are going to pair this with the left and right brain theory. Okay, now let's say that you want to learn how you want to develop your intuition, right? You want to develop it, right? So this is what happened. I'm going to show you something right here. When you see this, what's the first thing you think? I think triangle. Other people see fire. Some people see, everybody's mind goes somewhere when you see this, right? Everybody has a different definition of that, right? Just like when you see this, what do you think? Circle. Some people think circle. Some people think zero. Some people think 1. Some people think all, When you see this, what do you think? River, air, airflow, Aquarius. right? When you see this, what? Happy face, right? Smiley. When you see this, what? Question mark, right? So the concept is this with the left and right brain theory. Okay? The universe is a subconscious force, right? How do we know that? Because there's way more darkness in the universe than there is light, right? So if you're going to develop it, basically what you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, so every time I see a triangle, I'm going to equate that triangle to a turtle. Every time I see a circle, I'm going to equate that to a bear. Every time I see this sign here, I'm going to equate that to the universe telling me that I need to sleep. And you know what the universe says? Okay, we'll do that. So you'll be riding down the road and all of a sudden you start seeing triangles. You're like, oh, turtle, 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 turtle. That means something about a turtle, turtle, turtle. I see a triangle, turtle. You're going to start seeing triangles and everything. Turtle, turtle, turtle. Because the universe wants to communicate with us. It wants to talk to us. And then all of a sudden you see, guess what? Bow, a bear. A bear, 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 bear. And then it's going to test it. Just like when I told you with Bluetooth. It's like ones and zeros. It's going to be like a different channel on whatever chain. It's going to be like that. So then after a while, what did it do? It goes quiet. So the universe is going to be watching you. And when it needs to tell you something, it's going to relay it in these symbols. And then what happens is, as you develop it better, you'll be able to correlate it with different things like numbers. You'll be able to correlate it with phrases. You'll be able to correlate it with facts. You'll be able to correlate it with all these other different things. Because your mind is going to go there. Because your mind creates definitions for this. By this not being defined, you are given the opportunity to define it. That's essentially the power that God gave Adam when God created Adam. That's the power that he gave him. When you see this, when you see this, I'm going to call that sheep. Now, all of a sudden, it's called a sheep. We think sheep. But it's only designed for your mind only. It's kind of like a secret language that you and the universe have. You can share other symbols with other people. You know, use symbols that other people share or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody see triangle, everybody, triangle, You can do that. Or you could create your own definition of that. And when the universe comes in, boom, 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 everything just, yep. That's how you develop your intuition. And that's what systemic beliefs is. When you create a definition of something, that definition, that belief that you create in that systemic, because it's a systemic belief, essentially. All of this is a systemic belief, right? There's nothing in the books that teach you this. Really, there's nothing in the world that's gonna prove this to you. The only way to prove it is to test it, right? That's the only way. Now, that right there, eventually, after it proves itself to you, it becomes what? A belief system for you. Systemic beliefs. So everybody has systemic beliefs, whether it's religious oriented, religious. It could just be spiritual. It could be this. There's all kind of different beliefs. But essentially, that's the law of systemic beliefs. The law of kamikaze. I have to remember that. I got to go back and I got to look at my book for that. But if I had to guess about kamikaze, basically, I'm going to look into that one. Number 10. That's what it was. Number 10, the law of kamikaze. It could deal with like canceling something out. It could deal with canceling something out, like energies canceling each other out. But then 11, you got the law of fears. And basically, I think I covered most of that, right? Essentially, the things that you fear has a way of drawing itself to you. But also it puts you on a vibrational octave. And if somebody recognizes that fear in you, it's easy for them to send energy that has the same resonance as that fear to get it to stick to you, because we have let's say our bodies is electromagnetic. What does it do? It attracts. You got the north up here and you got the south down here. The north is going to attract the south and the south is going to attract the north, right? So what happens is those fears, they start attracting themselves to your energetic field, and they start clouding and cluttering around you, create spiritual clutter. And then number 12, you have the law of contradictions. Man, I really need to find my book, because I know I wrote all this stuff down in my book. If I get it wrong, I'm just going to correct it in another video. But the law of contradictions basically has to do with canceling out energy that's sent or directed towards you. Because what happens is here is you get people who send hexes and vexes and stuff like towards you, and essentially what happens is I'm gonna look this one up before I speak on it. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna look that one up. Which ones do I need to look up? I think that's the only one that I need to look up so far. Number 12, contradictions. Oh, 10 and 12. Okay. Now, then there's number 13, which is the law of temporal and infinity, right? So basically, with infinite and temporal, it's like this, right? Of course, you got God's power, right? And then you have the Luciferian power, right? I'm just going to scribble here, right? God's power is infinite. And the other power is temporal. So basically, when it's temporal, what happens is this energy here, it comes, let's say if this is our timeline, right? This energy comes in at a certain point, and then at a certain point, it's gone, right? It only aligns with the timeline for a moment. So it'd be something like this, where it comes down, it's aligned with our timeline for a short amount of time, and then it comes down, right? But with God, his energy is kind of like, it goes like this, and then it comes in like that, and it sticks and stays with this energy until he decides it's time to let it rest. So you have energies that are infinite and those that are temporal. Now, what is the difference? The difference is this. With an infinite energy, when, let's say, if God was to give you something, or whatever, usually it's forever, unless he has something better to give you to replace that, or if you do something to lose it. Now, with the Luciferian energy, essentially the temporal aspect, this is why he always required time and energy of his servants, is because his light is dwindling. He don't have that much light left. So what happens is he'll promise you anything, right? And he'll make, you make the deal, whatever. For a moment, everything is going good. Then guess what happens? He calls back his light. He calls back his energy from you. When he calls his energy back from you, all the power that he gave you on top of your energy and power comes back to him. It's almost like lending. Basically, that's what it is. It's lending. Lending with a percentage. Okay? He might say, okay, I want 10% of this person's life. I want 37% of this person's life when I call my energy back. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lend this person that, lead them along, let it, whatever, until, okay, you know what? This person doesn't have that much life left. I need to get my 37% out of this before this person can't give me what I asked for back, or what's expected of me back. Guess what happened? He calls that energy back. Okay? So that's the difference between infinite and finite and infinite energies. One is temporal, okay? And that's because Lucifer is working on a sound wave. He works on an octave sound wave. What happens? That octave is bound by only so much amount of vibration. You see what I'm saying? That microwave can only produce so much vibration. That's why it's on a red band or red ray. Now the UV light is different. The light is different. It has a range that it can operate on. There's more than one way for it to operate on. One is essentially, yeah. But this is what I found to be true about, spirituality. These are the 13 laws of spirituality. I know I didn't do kamikaze, but essentially, I guess with kamikaze, it basically has to do with operating, like say if somebody's using a pentagram, right? But this is what happens, like invoking air is like banishing water. You see what I'm saying? See how those two contradict each other and pretty much cancel each other out? It'll be something like that, where the invocation of one thing could be the banishing of something else. So with the kamikaze, let's say somebody wants to hex your love life, you can do an invocation or a banishing, right? If you banish, that's going to take a lot of energy. But if you invoke, you're going to do something like, may my, let's say my love life is hexed. No. Let's say if they say, I curse you to never find true love in this life. You can say, I'm going to invoke true love in myself. You see how that works? If you invoke that true love in yourself, it's like you have that true love and it breaks that hex. Now, if you do banishing work, you could just do the banishing, but you'll have to match their energy for energy. But this has to do with like Aikido. This has to do with like doing like joint locks. You don't want to use too much of your energy to get the right results. If you do magic and stuff like that, in my opinion, it never has to be strains unless you make it that way. If you're straining, if you're yelling, if you're all that stuff, in my opinion, I don't think you're doing real magic unless, you have to put a lot of force behind something. If you have to put a lot of force behind it, that's something different. But if you're just doing it just to be doing it, like, I call on this, I call on that, blah, 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 and it's just all the time, eventually it's just like, yeah, no, that's not going to work. Then you have the law of contradictions. If I had to take a nab at this, I would say, this has to do, if I had to say, let me see if I got it on here. Okay, contradictions. Okay. So I guess contradictions and the kamikaze almost tie into each other. It's basically when someone sends you chaos, right? They send you that chaotic energy, and you just pretty much just take you don't change the chaos. You leave the chaos as it is, but it's pretty much you just redirect it towards something that you want, something more desirable that you want. And I'm not talking about, if this person sent me chaos, I get good karma. No, it doesn't work like that. Because you're trying to make it where it's negative to positive. It doesn't just change like, it don't just change like that, right? Let's say somebody wants to, let's say, I don't know, destroy. Not even that. Let's say if somebody just sending you chaos, right? They want you to be in a chaotic energy all the time, right? You say, well, by the grace of God, that chaos, I ask that the enemies who send it to me be in chaos when it comes time to send me the chaos when they speak it. May they have a chaotic tongue or a chaotic mind when they think of the chaoses that they want, when they try to perceive chaoses to send my way. You see how that redirects? Now when it comes time to do chaos work, they're like, I want them to feel chaos, but what else can I do? That sounds very familiar. These are by no means any secrets or anything like that. Any witch, warlock, or anyone who has been practicing has been abiding by some or all of these laws this entire time, whether they paid attention to it or not. So yeah, these are my personal 13 laws of spirituality and what they mean. There's more to it, but you know. All right, so that's all I got for now. I guess the next concept, well, I guess that's it for today. All right, I guess I'll catch up with y'all later. And yes, I did change my name. It is no longer, you know, what it used to be. And yes, it is that, and it's that for a reason. All right, I'll catch up with you guys later. Peace.